Isis Romero. I'm a reporter with KSAT 12 News, and we're working on a documentary about the 1998 murder of Eddie Garcia. He was known as the Bingo King, and we're trying to track down the folks who served on the jury. Were you a member of that jury? Do we have that right, Gloria? Do you remember?
My name is Maria Gloria de Aro, and I was a juror in the trial.
How did you feel about being in the jury? Did you want to do it?
Well, yes and no, because I don't know, it felt like I'm killing a person. So, but all the evidence were against him.
I already knew that it was going to be an uphill battle. I had everything denied. Everything was denied. Every objection, everything that my attorney tried to do, it was denied.
A strange twist of events for Judge Sharon McRae.
When I first met James Legate, he told me that the judge was biased against him. And so I asked James Legate, do you want to have a recusal hearing? Do you want me to try to get the judge off the case? Because the problem is that if we do this and we don't get the judge off the case, we might anger the judge. If I could go back today and talk to my former self back then, I would tell him not to do the recusal hearing. I don't know if it would make any difference. I don't know.
It was a very interesting trial. Yes, indeed it was. I don't remember all the details, but it was interesting. My name is Pamela June Johnson Coleman. I was one of the jurors back then.
What were your initial assessments of the defendant, Mr. Legate, when trial started?
I didn't have any opinion at all, really. I just wanted to watch him as the evidence was laid out.
There were people the jurors did not hear from. We didn't hear from Marilyn Maddox because we couldn't find her. They did not hear from James's friend who was at the gas station as to why James was in the area. I didn't know the judge would not allow us to present that to the jury. And there's no reason to suppress that evidence. They did not hear from Charles Rodriguez, a man who came forward, who had all kinds of information he was going to tell the jury about who did the hit and why it happened, how much was paid, who was going to corroborate this with other facts about the case. And what should have happened is this person should have been allowed to testify to the jury, but that was all shut down. And so the jury heard a small portion of what was there. And so what bothers me so much about this case is that the standard of beyond a reasonable doubt was fairly easy to reach because we could not present the evidence we needed to present.
The home of Quentin Long.
This is the home of Quentin Long.
Okay. My name is Isis Romero. I'm with KSAT 12. We are the ABC affiliate here in town.
My name is Quentin Long, and I was the foreman of the jury. It is a very sobering experience, especially in a case where somebody's put away for a while. I remember we sat around a big table and we just went around and people talked. We sent them around in an order, and if they didn't want to talk then, but everybody had their say on what they felt was the compelling reason that they thought he was guilty. Either the verdict's going to be not guilty, hung jury, or guilty. And everybody came to the guilty.
Years later, James Legate wanted to do a writ, which is an examination of problems that may have happened that are outside the trial transcript. He hired me and another investigator to go look at the old DA records. We were shown into a room where there were 10 boxes of records and found a memo from an investigator who had gone out and interviewed a Marilyn Maddox. Right away, Marilyn Maddox, when she was told about James Legate, said he didn't do it. And that's exculpatory information. That's something the jury needed to hear. But instead of us being told about this, the prosecution sat on it. In fact, the investigator told her to stop talking. It's in the memo. So that memo was very crucial. It should have been turned over to the defense. And had all this information been presented to the jury, and the jury came back with a guilty verdict, I'd have no problem with the case. But when you have so much evidence suppressed, so much evidence hidden, and a man goes to prison for 99 years, it's just not right.
I can only think that Mr. Hildebrand, the investigator, didn't pursue it because he thought that that it would be better if the attorneys talked to her instead of him. As I recall, when I called Miss Maddox to talk to her and tell her about the conversation that Mr. Hildebrand said that he had with her, she was indignant that somebody had said that she said that he didn't do it. It made things very difficult.
Do you remember how long it took the jury to reach a verdict?
Oh, I mean, they argued and argued.
There might have been some hesitation, if I remember correctly. One or two people say, well, I don't know. There were probably some people that had some unsureness going into it, but they eventually came around and said, yeah, I think he was guilty.
Were there some jurors who wanted to vote not guilty?
One,
Do you remember who that was?
no.
Was it a man or a woman? Do you remember?
I think it was a woman, but no, just one person. All the other ones was did guilty.
Do you remember, did they kind of take a vote or a tally at first and then she didn't want to vote guilty, or how? What was that like, if you can remember?
All I know is she said that she was fearful. She was scared. And I'm like, why did you get up in here if you were, or why? Or all of a sudden it was just like, I don't understand. What does it have to do with you? Until after, then she had something to do with it. I don't know how she said she knew him or how to, I can't remember, was that same day or the next day we came back and to find out that she did know him.
We tracked down all the jurors, and we understand that there was a connection between one of the jurors and Mr. Legate's family. At the time, were you aware of a juror who had a connection to the Legate family?
I was not aware of that, but that's another problem with the case.
We've uncovered some stuff with some jury issues with the panel that was seated for your trial. Mary Barcenas, to what extent were you aware of the connection between Mary and your family, specifically Peggy?
Well, I didn't know anything about any of the jurors in my trial. I didn't know that they knew any of my family. I didn't even know their names. I didn't know nothing about them. The only thing I learned about each juror was what they testified during the voir dire. And I did not learn about Mary Barcenas until my nephew brought it to my attention. Now, I didn't know that she knew my sister. I didn't learn this until last year sometime, I think it was.
A juror who has a personal opinion and personal knowledge about a defendant that could affect deliberation should not serve. So that could be an issue. However, in spite of that, that doesn't change any of the overwhelming facts that all point to James Legate as a murderer.
How were you able to find these jurors 20 years later?
Part of the trial transcript was their voir dire process, where they go one by one and they interview each juror. So we had a little bit of information that was given at voir dire about each juror, in addition to just their name. Some of them told where they worked, and anytime you do a background check, some of that will pop up. So we were able to match the juror with those particular background checks and get their latest addresses, and in some cases their latest phone numbers. So from there, Eddie and I spent maybe 2 to 3 days going house to house and looking for each juror. Out of the 12 jurors, only one has moved out of the area. That person now lives in Florida. So the remaining 11 are still in this area. There was a couple that we were just unsuccessful in getting their whereabouts.
Did most of the jurors seem receptive to talk to you about this case, or how did they feel when you approached them?
For the most part, most of the jurors were surprised we were there. Here we are 20 years later, a door knock at their door, and it was just not at all what they were expecting to hear that day when they opened the door. There were a few that just kind of wanted their privacy, another handful that just said that they don't remember. They'd love to help and give us as much context and understanding as they could. They just didn't remember a lot of the details and therefore didn't feel comfortable speaking about it 20 years later.
So how did you find out that Mary Barcenas was connected to the Legate family?
So we had heard from a member of the Legate family that the family was acquainted with the Barcenas family at the time of trial, and that there had been an incident years after trial involving the juror's son. And so that's when Dylan went and pulled some of the records for Victor, who is the son of Mary Barcenas, and we found what we found.
And that was really like a light bulb moment when I think it was a lot of stuff in this story happened on Friday. Like
it was Saturday. You text me on
Saturday. Yeah, we'd get it like late Friday or into the weekend, and then we'd have some downtime and be able to look through stuff. But just went through. I got the entire case file from the burglary, the story that we'd gotten a tip on, and went through it. And then sure enough, I started seeing the name, and it just boom, light bulb went off. And this is a big connection that I don't think anybody on the prosecution or police side had made until that very moment.
Yeah, and these were more than just acquaintances. Victor Barcenas, the juror's son, was very much involved in the lives of Peggy Legate's children at the time of trial. And so these weren't just, somebody that you just kind of knew who they were. These were two families that at the time of trial were very much involved in each other's lives. And then post-trial, it's unclear whether they had a falling out or what happened, but at least according to the police report, Victor Barcenas said that he did not care for the homeowner's son, this being Peggy Legate's son and James Legate's nephew.
There's a reason when they panel a jury, you have dozens of people that get whittled down to 1 dozen people. And yeah, you have to ask a lot of questions in this case. Of all those people that were brought into the courtroom that day, why was she part of the final 12?